People often think that Google Ads or Google AdWords doesn't work for their business. But in my 10 plus years of experience working with Google Ads, I've seen so many different types of business models selling everything from e-commerce to valves and everything in between work tremendously well with Google Ads. I've seen businesses spend over $100 per click or per visitor, but still yet make a positive return on investment that they're extremely happy with. The reason why Google Ads doesn't work for some people is because they simply just don't know enough about how to set up their campaigns and settings and ads and landing pages correctly. They simply just haven't experienced enough of the mistakes and the successes to have that acquired knowledge. But thankfully for you, what I'm going to do in this tutorial is speed up that learning process. I'm going to go through a full tutorial on how to set up a successful search campaign. Okay, so here we are at my computer. But before we get started, I just want you to do one quick thing for me. Can you click that like button and the subscribe button? It really does help because it allows my videos to get a few more views and allows me to continue to create this content that's free for you. It allows me to dedicate just a little bit more time to it each and every week, which helps the greater community. Also, if you're interested, skip to the last 2 minutes of this video where I give everyone the free opportunity with no obligation for a free Google Ads audit of their campaigns, landing pages, etc. I go through everything and share with you any optimizations, any areas for scalability or to lower your cost per conversion, things of that nature. Hugely valuable, no obligation, completely free. So if you're interested in that, skip to the last 2 minutes. Okay, so here we are in the Google Ads platform. Now, with first things being first, you have to set up the billing and payments for your new Google Ads account. You can set up everything within this tutorial before setting up the billing, but just for the sake of keeping everything in line in the correct order, I recommend setting up the billing and payment processes now. Now, to do so, what you would like to do is come over to Go To, just type in bill, and then just scroll down into billing and payments. I would show you how to do this, but with my personal details already being on that page, including credit cards and address, I'm not too fond of sharing that information, so I'll let you do that. It's pretty simple. If you've been through an e-commerce transaction, you know how to do that. Now, the next key part to setting up a successful Google Ads campaign is linking your Google Analytics account with your Google Ads account. Now, the reason why this is important, it allows you to track on a deeper level the performance of your Google Ads campaigns. Now, it also allows you to import conversions into your Google Ads and allows Google Ads to measure the conversions and allows you to quickly attribute which campaigns are driving conversion, which ads, which ad groups, etc. But it also allows you to have a look at any form of attribution modeling and things of that nature, which is hugely important, and I will touch upon that later in the video. Now, to link the two campaigns, there's two different ways, and I'm going to cover both. Okay, so the first way to link your Google Analytics and Google Ads accounts is for Google Analytics to communicate back to Google Ads. Now, it doesn't matter which way you do this, whether you do the Google Ads way or the Google Analytics way, you just have to choose one and implement it that way. So to do this, you come to your Google Analytics account, and this is just mine for my little consulting website here. And what you want to do is just come down to Google Ads linking. They make it pretty simple. I've already linked it because it's taken me a couple of takes to do this video, to be honest. I'm not a professional YouTuber by any means, but you simply just go through the process here. You should already have a pre-existing link between the two accounts because you should be using the same email address for your Google Analytics and your Google Ads accounts. So Google, the two Google properties will talk to each other and make establishing that link very, very easy. To do that, you simply just kind of go through this little quick process here. Once you've clicked that button, the page loads, and sorry I've had to blur out a whole bunch of client data here, but you just select the Google Ads property and you link the two by scrolling down to the bottom and clicking the save button, clicking the continue button I should say, sorry. Now, the second way to do this really quickly is through the Google Ads account, linking it to the Google Analytics account. Now, to do this, we just whip up the tools, scroll down to linked accounts, we click details, and I've had to blur out some information here, but essentially we just go and find the analytics property that we want to link to, press link, and we go through that little process there, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, they're all linked. Okay, so the next step of the process is importing conversions into your Google Ads campaigns. Now this is hugely important and cannot be skipped, because if you do not do this, you have no idea if your Google Ads campaigns, keywords, ad text are being successful or not. It's very, very simple if you have made the link between Google Analytics and Google Ads. And to do this, all you have to do is come up to Tools. We want to come over to Conversions. Now, once we have reached the Conversions page, we just want to click this Plus Conversions tab. The next step, we have a couple of different options here. We have track sales and other actions on your website, app goals, phone calls, and import. We want to select import, but you can use other actions such as website, and we can set up a lead, page views, signups. You can enter in a conversion name, conversion value, and things of that nature. Now, if you want to do this, it requires that you do copy the code that's given to you by Google Ads and place it on the destination goal or page that triggers or is the desired end result of your conversion action. Now, to quickly run through these settings, you want to select the category. Is the desired conversion that you want to focus on with your Google Ads, is it a purchase, lead, page view, or sign up, or other? Now, if we're just going for a lead, we select lead, we give the conversion a name. So we'll just say name for this test setup here. Now you can attribute a value here, and I highly do recommend that you do this. Now, depending upon the nature of your business, if you're e-commerce, this is far easier, and you want to set up e-commerce tracking. Now, if you're using Shopify or WooCommerce, I recommend going through the instructions for those two different platforms and setting up e-commerce tracking in relation to Google Analytics, and then translating that over to Google Ads, because it will allow you to set up different types of campaigns based on ROAS or return on ad spend and things of that nature. But if you're a lead generation business, what you can do is, as a general means, is work out your lead to sale conversion rate. Now, ideally, you want to break that down and segment that down a little bit further and say, what is the lead to sale conversion rate from digital leads only? That'll give you a more accurate representation of the cost per lead that you want to achieve. Now, hypothetically, you're happy to pay, let's say, $200 to gain a customer for your business, and you close 1 in every 4 leads from a digital or just overall leads in general. That means that you're happy to pay up to $50 per lead. So I would attribute a $50 lead value to each lead that comes through Google Ads. Now, when it comes to the value portion, we want to use the same value for each conversion, and we would say 50 for our little hypothetical business that I've just talked our way through there. Now, you can use different values for each conversion if you have multiple different conversions or things of that nature. You can add dynamic values, and you can place tracking codes on thank you pages. Some leads might be more valuable than others if you have a multi-service type of business or multi-product type of business. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't recommend this bottom tab. Don't use a value for this conversion, because it's just not as accurate, and contextually, when you think about your optimizations later on in a month or two, or 2 months, or 2 months down the track, or 6 months down the track, having a conversion value, you can change this at a later date, but having a conversion value just allows you to give you a more lateral or different level of thinking when it comes to thinking about the performance of your Google Ads campaigns. Now, as we scroll down to count, we have 2 options here, every and one. Now, if you count every conversion, someone might come to a product page or a service page and fill in the contact us form twice. Now, if you have every, it will count that lead as 2, not 1. So John Smith might have filled it in twice, and it is contextually only 1 lead to your business, but because you've selected every, it will count as 2 leads. Now, if you change that to 1, that scenario will only count as 1 lead. So I kind of can't make this decision for you, but hopefully this context helps you make a better decision for which setting is right for you. Next, we have conversion window. And this is a little bit of a unique kind of setting here that does differentiate depending upon the lead cycle of your business. So some businesses have a longer lead cycle, or it takes a person typically a lot longer to make a decision. And so you want to factor that into how much time you want to allow for Google Ads to claim that person as a conversion. So to give you an example of this, so here we are back in Google Analytics just to have a look at the conversion window and how you can quickly grab that information to help set up a more accurate window for your Google Ads campaign. So if you come to Google Analytics, click down on conversions, click down on multi-channel funnels, time lag, set a wide enough date range where you have a couple of hundred conversions ideally. And what we can see here is the number of conversions based on time lag. I've changed the default here from 30 to 90, just in case that isn't obvious. And now we can see that in terms of days passed, that 75% of people convert on day 0, so when they first visit the site. But we also have another 25% of people that convert from day 1 up to day 90. So, hypothetically, we might want to cap this conversion window at 60 days or leave it at 30 days, etc. It's completely up to you, but I'm just giving you this type of information to help make this decision correct for you. So for argument's sake, we'll just leave this at 30 days. So moving through to view through conversion window. Now this is a kind of interesting one. It's to do with if someone sees your ad but doesn't click the ad but then converts at a later date. Google's assuming that the ad played some part in the conversion. It's hard to say whether it did or whether it didn't in the direct means, but it may or may not have. Now you can, similar to the conversion window, you can change the length. So you can have 30 days, 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days, etc. I have no real rough rule of thumb here and I typically don't change it all too often. I usually just leave it at 1 day or 3 days. So I recommend you doing the same thing. 90% of the time, I just leave it at 1 day. For that 10% of the time, I do change it to 3 days. Next, we have include in conversions. Now, this is an important one because importing the goals from Google Analytics, which I'll show you how to do in just a few moments, you can have different micro and macro goals. Macro being, the very desirable goals such as a lead, a sale, etc. Micro being a journey-based or process-based goal such as viewed X number of pages, time on site, things of that nature. Now, they're really important goals to capture because it helps you create audiences for your remarketing and things for the display network, which I've touched upon in other videos that I've put up on YouTube. So you need to think about that. Do I want Google Ads to think about or factor in this goal when it optimizes my campaigns based around bidding strategies or any other optimization settings? Now, if this is a duration goal, we might deselect it. If it's a sale or lead, we want to keep it selected. Now, lastly, we have attribution modeling. Now, this is an interesting one because this is how Google Ads either gets a pat on the back or doesn't get a pat on the back, depending upon how the person converted. So, for instance, we have here a fair few different attribution models that we can use. We have last click, first click, linear, time decay, and position based. Now, last click is kind of as it seems. It gives credit to the conversion if the Google ad is the last action completed, or it was the last platform of traffic that brought the visitor to your website and completed the desired action. First click is what was the first traffic model or platform that brought that visitor to your website. That gets the pat on the back. Linear is it just kind of evens out and attributes each different platform or each traffic platform an even amount of pats on the back or conversion attribution to each platform. Now, time decay is a model that gives less emphasis on the first click and larger emphasis on the last click, and it obviously scales up just like this little bar graph indicates. Now, position based gives 40% of the credit to both the first and the last click and distributes 20% among other clicks. I personally like position based, but depends on the business model. It really does need you to pay some attention and for you to put just a few seconds of thought about which attribution model is correct for your business. Now, if you want to get into the finer points of model attribution, you want to whip over to Google Analytics, come down to attribution, model comparison tool, and here we can start to play around with the different traffic platforms, and you can go into these at a deeper level using these tabs here, and we can change the different models by clicking through here. So you can see here how the numbers will change depending upon, we can see here first interaction. For this particular client, a lot of first action comes through Google Organic, and if we click last click, which is obviously the first one, we can see that number drop significantly, and things of that nature. So this can help for you to make a decision about which model attribution is correct for you within your Google Ads. Okay, so as we've come back, we will click cancel here. Okay, now what I want to do is quickly run through how to import goals from Google Analytics. Now, the first thing to do is actually to set up the goal within Google Analytics, and we do that by coming down to the admin section, coming over to goals. We want to set up a new goal, and Google has a quick little template here, and reservations, make a payment, etc., etc. If you fit into one of these, feel free to select one of these categories. It doesn't really matter all too much, but if you don't, simply just click custom, click continue. We want to name the goal, so lead thank you page, and we want to select the goal ID and goal set, and we'll just leave this at 1 because it's the only goal. Now, we have a couple of different goals that we can measure here. We've got duration, we've got destination, page or screen per session. So these are page views or screen views per session, and we have different events that we can track. For the nature of this video, I'm not going to run through every goal because this video is probably going to be a little bit long as it is. So typically, if you've set up e-commerce tracking, I'm not going to show you how to set up that, but this would already be done. But for the majority of service-based businesses, they're after capturing leads. So it's mostly a destination-based URL. So we select destination, we click continue. And what happens here is we want to go to our form, complete the form, and grab the thank you URL. Now we just have to add the last little string, so such as thank you.html as they have done here. So we simply just input whatever your thank you URL is here, and then we simply just go down to add a value. As I mentioned before, again, you want to calculate the value of a lead, and this is subtly a little bit different than what I said before in Google Analytics. Whereas before you worked it out what you're happy at the maximum level to spend per lead, this is what a lead is actually worth. So this time you will work out the lifetime value of a customer. So let's just say $1,000, and it takes 4 leads to close a deal. So that would be $250 is the value per lead to your business. So we would put $250 in here. Now, if you have funnel steps, such as the lead process has structured steps in place, you definitely want to fill out the funnel steps here. So we can have step 1, etc. And then the same thing here is we take that page or step 1 page URL, the end parameter, and we just place it in here. We add another step, so on and so forth. Now this allows you to optimize the lead process and see where in the lead process, where in the lead process are visitors exiting. allows you to fix those pages and improve the conversion rate ultimately for your lead capture process. So this can be hugely important depending upon your lead capture process. So once you have done this, you have the option to verify this goal. This will not work for me at the moment because this is just a test Google Analytics campaign, and you would simply click save and you would be done. Okay, coming back over to Google Ads now and importing goals from Google Analytics. We come over here, we click import, we click Google Analytics. I should mention before that if you do have third-party campaigns or third-party platforms, such as Firebase or Salesforce or other CRMs, you can import goals from there as well. But for the nature of this tutorial, we're simply just going to run with Google Analytics. So here's the lead that I just created, and we want to import. Done. So just quickly here, what we can do is we can click the URL of this goal, and we can change any of these values if we wish to do so. We just simply click Edit Settings. I've already spoken about many of the settings here, such as count, conversion window, etc., etc. You may change any of these settings at a later date or as your business changes, and you're free to do so whenever you wish. Okay, so here we are about to start the fun part, and that is the creation of your first Google Ads campaign. Now to do so, what we need to do is come over to the Campaigns tab from the Overview page, and we want to select the plus sign on New Campaign. Now, as I mentioned before, that you need to have goals and an objective set up for your Google Ad campaigns. If you do not do that, you are simply flying blind, and you will get a very, very, very poor results from your Google Ads experiences. Now, if you do have your goals set up, you want to tell Google Ads what you want them to optimize for. Is it sales, leads, website traffic, etc., etc.? Ultimately, you want to be gunning for sales or leads. Now, for this campaign, we're going to run with leads, and this tutorial is about setting up a specific search search campaign, not a display, that's for sure. Now, we want to select search here and now click continue. Now, select the ways you would like to reach your goal. Now, it's going to be through website visits and through phone calls. If that is the nature of your business, you can input your phone number here. But generally speaking, it's going to be through website visits. So what we want to do here is quickly put in the URL of your website. Don't forget the HTTPS. If you have it, you should have SSL or HTTPS on your website, because it does help a little tiny bit within the Google search results in terms of search engine optimization. So don't forget that, and obviously the www. So with that being done, we want to click continue. Now on this settings page, we want to give the campaign a name. Now this is where we start to think about the structure of our campaigns. Now I do have a detailed video about Google Ads and Google AdWords campaign structures. I highly recommend having a quick peek at that video, because it will give you a better insight on how to formally structure your Google ad campaigns. Now, I am going to touch upon it loosely within this video, so if you don't want to do that, well, it's just to the detriment to yourself and the performance of your campaigns onwards. So with that being said though, what we want to do is you want to structure your campaigns based around themes or product categories or service categories. So if you were a sporting goods store, for instance, you might have a campaigns dedicated to men's joggers and men's football boots. Similarly, that would be two different campaigns. Similarly, you would have women's joggers and women's football boots. So you want to get that kind of granular, because it will allow you to have more control over your campaigns and further optimizations, and allow you to set up more specific ad groups with more specific keywords, with more specific ads and more specific landing pages, giving you an overall high conversion rate, lower cost per clicks, higher quality score, things that overall contribute to the success of your Google Ads campaigns, which I'm going to talk about all those aspects as we go through the video further. So we want to name our campaign, and we'll just say consulting leads. That will do. Now, the next one for networks is hugely important. I do see this mistake made all too often. Deselect the display network for your search campaigns because it will blow through your budget really quickly, waste money in a very untargeted way. So for search campaigns where you want to rank within the Google search engine and search partners, you want to only have the search network selected. Now, when it comes to including search partners, I like to leave search partners included from the start. And if you go through my YouTube video history, you'll see a little quick optimization video on how to evaluate the Google search partners and whether it is right for you or wrong for you. But essentially, if you're just starting, you kind of have no idea. So it's best off not to make an assumption and let the data supply you with the answer after a week or a month worth of data collection. Now, scrolling down to dates, we can have a start and an end date. Most of the time, you will not have an end date, but you might have an end date if it's a short campaign as a limited time product or a sale or a limited time kind of service. This is kind of obvious, that setting for you, depending upon your type of business, I should say, or the product or service that you deliver. Next, we have campaign URL options. If you want to get into the complexities of creating your custom URL parameters and things of that nature, you don't need to do this. But if you want to, and if you have that level of knowledge, you probably shouldn't be watching this video anyway, but you can get into that kind of stuff at a later date. Now, with dynamic search ads, you can enable dynamic search ads. I leave them off. Goes against the Google rules in the initial term. I leave them off because I like to have control of as much as I can in the early days of a Google Ads campaign, because Google aren't that good yet at optimizing starting campaigns, and they can be quite poor at optimizing campaigns even if they have data at a later date, for instance. That's where a lot of skill comes in with a particular consultant or the particular or yourself, for instance, with running your Google Ads campaigns. So I leave this unchecked, DSA unchecked. Coming down to locations. Now, depending upon your business, you might have a specific geographical area, you might be nation-based or you might be internationally based. Again, this comes down to campaign structure. I do have clients where we have in the United States where we set up a campaign for each individual state. Yes, it's a lot of work, but we're able to create more targeted ads and send them to better targeted landing pages. It's a great deal more work, but the success has been tremendous. Being able to go from 62 leads up to 148 leads per day. I think it's 148 leads per day. 140 something leads per day on average, because of the level of specificity in the campaign structure. Now, this is pretty explanatory on how to set up all this type of stuff. You can set up your nation here. You can enter another location. You can use postcodes or zip codes, countries, cities, and regions. It's completely up to you. Now, one other aspect that people do get wrong that you need to pay very close attention to is the target. Now, by default, Google, in my opinion, try to screw a fair few people over. Now, people in or show interest in your targeted locations, that might not be ideal to you, because it could be someone that, such as a mechanic, and they might be in New York on a vacation. The wife contacts them or the husband contacts them, says that the car's not doing well, but they live in Phoenix, Arizona. They search for mechanics. You do not want your ad to show. Now, the reason is obvious, because they're in New York and not in Phoenix, and the car's in Phoenix. So the reason that you need to pay close attention to this is, for the most of the time, if you're a service-based business, you are only able to service people this is not for the majority, this is not for all people, but this is for a certain portion of people. You service people in that specific geographical location, or you have a better chance of closing deals in that geographical location. Now, if that is the case for you, you want to select people people in or regularly in your targeted location. That will get you a better end result, not the bottom one. Now, the bottom one, people searching for your targeted locations, is obvious. People outside of your area searching for things inside your area. You want for the exclude people in or who show interest. Your excluded locations recommended. You can exclude locations if you wish to do so as well. Languages is obvious. Most of the time it's going to be English. If you're listening to my videos, I don't speak any other languages really. I speak a broken part of another language, but not particularly well. Now, if your website does translate into other different languages, by all means select them if that is the case. Now, when it comes to audiences, I do have videos in the pipeline on how to use this. This is a more advanced feature, and what it allows you to do is to modify your bidding based upon the demographics, psychographics, and behaviors of different people. So you might want to bid more on people who have that are in a specific demographic, or they've shown to have specific behaviors, because they have a higher chance of converting. It might sound that you'll pay more per conversion, but you actually pay less because of those person are more desirable. Remember, with your marketing, it's impossible to sell someone who has no interest in your product, but you can channel desire. You can't create desire, if that makes sense. So this allows you to focus on people who have that desire. It is a little bit more sophisticated, but again, hugely powerful. But I'm going to skip this just because of the nature of this tutorial. When it comes down to budgets, budgets are what you're willing to spend per day, but it does work on an aggregated 30-day period. So you might spend more in a particular day or week, but overall, if your budget is $1,000 per day, you will spend $30,000 in that 30-day period. So don't be concerned that if you do send a $1,000 a day budget or a $10 a day budget, that you do blow out at $1,200 or $12, depending upon your daily budget, or you times that by 7. Things can fluctuate just a little bit as Google spends a little bit more if it deems that you have a higher chance of getting conversion for that particular time period. Now, when it comes down to bidding strategies, again, I have another video in the pipeline that's going to come out in the next week or two about bidding strategies. But most of the time, I like to start with either maximize clicks or manual CPC. Most of the time I start with manual CPC because I want to have control, and as I get more data in, I can test other different options such as target ROAS or target CPA, sometimes maximize conversions. So the majority of the time I'm actually using target CPA, target ROAS, or maximize conversions, or manual CPC. Now, target CPA, what it allows you to do is set up an amount of money you're happy to spend to acquire one particular lead. Now, target ROAS, for example, allows you to set a desired return on investment you want to achieve for your Google Ads campaigns. And now this is set per campaign, so you don't just set this one, you do this each time you set up a new campaign. And obviously maximize conversions. If Google Ads is working tremendously well for you, and it's just about throwing as many leads as we possibly can through your business and through your funnels, well, then you want to maximize conversions because you're not terribly worried about how much you spend per conversion. You just want as many of them as you can. And I do have a fair number of clients that we are at that point where the marketing and communication landing pages are so well optimized that it's just about how many leads can we get, and we're happy to spend almost an infinite amount to get a lead. It does take a little bit of time to get to that point, but it is very, very exciting once you do get to that point, because the revenue and profit is is fantastic. It goes kind of without saying, I suppose. Now, when we come down to show more settings here, we've got conversions, ad schedule, and ad rotation. Now for conversions, we've already set that up, so we don't need to touch upon that all too much. Ad schedule, depending upon, again, your business model, you can set up different times to have ads on and off during the day. You can, depending upon, with scripts, you can set up you can set up an infinite amount of different time periods. But if you use the default user interface, you can set up, I think it's 6 different time periods per day. But by default, you might only want ads to show from Monday through to Friday from 9 to 5. You can skin this cat, so to speak, in many different ways, and you do so as it works, whichever way works specifically well for your business and your type of business model. Now, ad rotation, again, I like to start with do not optimize rotate ads indefinitely for the start, because again, I want control. I sound like a little bit of a dictator here, and I guess I am when it comes to Google Ads, especially upon the initial stages of setting up a campaign, because I believe that I am better than Google because I have human context, I have experience and things on my side. But as you get more data, yes, sometimes I do like to swing over to optimize to the best performing ads. If you are going to manage your ads on a regular basis, such as daily or weekly, I recommend starting with do not optimize. If you're not going to do that, definitely start with optimize. Okay, coming down to ad extensions now. So we've got site link extensions, call out extensions, call extensions, and a whole heap of other extensions. I'm quickly going to run through these because I do feel that they do offer a good amount of value, a very good amount of value. So site link extensions really allows people to get to their most desired page that answers the question that they have going on in their head, or the conversation that's happening in their mind. It allows them to get to the page that will probably answer that the quickest. So for an example, you might have a shop page if you're e-commerce, if you can spell shop correctly. You can add a description line 1, a description line 2, and a final URL. So to quickly run through how to do this, I've quickly just set up some site link extensions here for, Nike. If you were setting this up for Nike, for example, you would have, perhaps men's clothing, shoes, and apparel, and a link to the men's category page to shop on the Nike store. So, it's pretty simple. I've just done the same thing for women as well. Another example might be if you're an accountant and you have financial planning services, tax preparation services, bookkeeping. You might want to set up site link extensions here for bookkeeping, one here for financial planning, and you can add others here, another one for tax preparation, things of that nature. So depending upon the makeup of not only your business model but also your website, site link extensions are highly recommended. So next we have call out extensions. Now, call out extensions are little pieces of text. You only get 25 characters, and that's including spacing, where you can add the benefits or the features of your products, or add little forms of social proof. So you might have, you might say 25 years experience, etc. So you talk about the benefits and features here and things of that nature. It does make your ad larger. Gives you more real estate within the Google search engine results, and will improve your click-through rate, quality score, lower your cost per clicks, and things of that nature. Does have a little bit of an increase if you do it right in conversions as well. Next we have call extensions. To add call extensions is quite simple. Select the country, input your phone number, call reporting on or off. So Google can use call forwarding numbers to help track your phone call results, and we can calls from ads or use account settings here. I usually leave them as by default, and you can have device preferences and different times of the day. So if you're only answering the phones between the times of Monday to Friday 9 to 5, you can set that up really quickly and really simply by setting here and selecting the correct tongue twister. I don't know why that is a tongue twister, but the correct times. So there are other heap of different extensions, such as structured snippets, app extensions, message extensions, promotions, price, and locations. And quickly just to run through them, I'm not going to go through the setups. The structured snippets are similar to call-out extensions, but they are subtly different. You can talk about the different styles. If you're a hotel, the amenities, talking about the actual key features. They do have categories, and if you go in there, it's really simple to set up. App extensions, if you have an app, you can link people to download your app, either whether it's iOS or Android. Promotion extensions, Mother's Day, Black Friday, things of that nature. Price extensions, goes without saying, talking about the price and things of that nature. And locations extensions, the Google My Business, people are wondering, I had a comment in the YouTube section below, and I'm going to create a video upon that really quickly for that person, is locations extensions. So you can link your Google Ads with your Google My Business, and it allows you to your Google Ads to show more prominently and take up a larger piece of real estate for people in and around your geographical area. So that's really important, and I highly recommend you do that for twofold, because your Google My Business listing is a good driver of leads for your business in and of itself, and linking it with your Google Ads gives you that added dimension and just added leverage, and there's a little tiny success factor that will help you get better results. Okay, we've saved our settings, and now we're getting into the ad groups. Now, the ad groups are important here. We've got standard and dynamic ad groups. So the first thing, we want to stick with standard and not dynamic. Again, it becomes down to that control factor. We want standard. Now, with the ad group structure, and I've spoken about a previous video that I have uploaded that talks about the structure of campaigns and ad groups and keywords and things of that nature. And I'm going to recommend that you do watch that. The link is in the description below. But with that being said, you want to think about the structure of your ad groups in relation to the keywords selected, the ads that service the keywords, and the landing pages that you will send people to based upon the keywords and the ads that are used prior to them landing upon. So that probably doesn't make a whole great deal of sense. Now, what I want to do is talk the way through it just a little bit more. Now, to do so, I've got a little diagram that will help you a lot. So here I have a little diagram to help kind of put everything into perspective and get and help you wrap your head around how the structure of Google Ads works. So to quickly run through this, we have account, campaign, we have ad groups, ads, and keywords. Now, this is the way I like to think about it, and I recommend. I think it's the easiest. It may or may not be. Obviously, it's personal preference, but let's just say that this person was a construction company. They've got custom home builder, custom home design. They're two different. There's two different intents behind those types of keywords. You want to show different ads, and you want to send them to different landing pages. So the ad that you would write for this theme of ad group is different to what you would write here, and that the keywords would be different, and you'd send them to a different landing page, so on and so forth. Kitchen remodeling, kitchen design. Again, this is a full kind of remodeling renovation service. This might be just a talk to someone who wants just a 3D design of a kitchen. So we want ads that are specific to the keywords and to the ad group, and we want the landing page to do the same as well. So hopefully that paints a better picture on how you want to structure your ad groups and how you group keywords and things of that nature. So typically speaking, I would like to use SKAGs, or single keyword ad groups. So for instance, I would have custom house builder in this ad group, so in the keyword section here, and I would have an ad dedicated to this keyword, and so on and so forth right the way through. Now, when I come back through to the Google Ads platform, here I've set up just a couple of different ad groups here based upon the diagram that I just showed you. So we've got custom home builder, custom home design. Now, the default bid is based upon the keyword research that you've done, and this is not a tutorial based on keywords research, unfortunately. But if you do want to do keyword research, and you definitely have to, come up to the keyword planner and go through that. I do have a video based upon keyword research, and I highly recommend going through that as well. So what we have here is an ad group based upon custom home builder and custom home design. And I've inputted two keywords that essentially are the same, but that have different modifiers, and I've done the same thing here. Now, it's important that the keyword match type here, so we have broad match, phrase match, and exact match. Now, broad match is something that I almost never use, and I recommend that you never use it, definitely with the start of your campaigns. Now, the reason being is that if broad match is used just by just having the word written as it is with no modifiers, and that means your ads can trigger for any combination or any singular word here. So it could be just custom home or builder. So it could be kitchen builder, it could be just a home cleaner, it could be custom cars kind of thing. So definitely broad match is a no-go 100%. So on the other hand, modified broad match, which is here but is not dictated or mentioned here below, is where where the words have a plus sign beforehand, that word must be incorporated into the keyword phrase inputted by the search user. So an example would be obviously custom home builder. That phrase would trigger an ad because of here each of the keyword phrases are mentioned. And also you can include other additional keywords in and around. So it could be custom home builder New York. It could be custom. It could be any form. I'm struggling to think of anything. So it could be custom cottage home builder, and that would show here because any additional keywords can be added in any way, shape, or form in between or at the ends of this phrase with the plus signs. On the other hand, the exact match is as it mentioned, it will only trigger when this phrase is mentioned exactly or a plural. Now, phrase match is with quotation marks, so there would be quotation marks inputted here and here. And what would happen there, your keywords would only trigger when the phrase is inputted correctly, and it can have additional keywords at the start or at the end. But the phrase itself has to run correctly. So that's phrase match. Now the match types are really, really important. And I do have a video on keyword match types, and I show an example of a client who gets it wrong and wastes a fair amount of money with next to no results. So this is a little way how you can structure your Google ad groups, and I highly recommend that you do get granular. Some campaigns that I have well over 100 ad groups, but depending upon the products or the service that you offer, you could only have just a handful, you could have half a dozen, or you could have a couple of dozen. So with that being said, we'll move on to the ad creation. So here we are at the ads creation section. And again, I do have a video on how to craft really good and compelling ads. It does help a great deal because even though it appears that you don't get that much space or that much text to write in, these ads do have a huge impact upon conversion rate, click-through rate, your cost per click, and things of that nature. It can drastically lower your cost per acquisition when you get these ads crafted correctly. So I do recommend watching that video really, really quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause really quickly, craft a couple of ads, and come back and just show you some quick, very poor examples of some ads, just to show you how everything fits together. So here we have it, a quick Google ad here for our campaign. I've only created one because Google recommends 3. I recommend 2, not because it's just to oppose Google. I do recommend 3 if the ad group that you're creating the ads for does get enough traffic. If not, only have 2. 3, it takes long to substantiate which ad is the best within the ad group. So the rough rule of thumb is that if you're getting more than 100 visits per day in the ad group, have 3. If not, only have 2. Well, that's my rough rule of thumb, and it's worked very, very well for me. So quickly, the final URL is the URL that you want the person to end up on. So I just use the home page. I do not recommend ever using the home page. And you would send them to a custom home builder page. So for instance, this is their website here. So we may want to send them to the design single story, or just the overall category, our designs page, or perhaps the display homes, or even the building with us page. What I would do is I would go in and analyze the performance of the handful of these potential pages, which one resonates the most with the visitors, and that would be my destination page. But for this tutorial here, I'm just going to stick with the home page. The headlines here, the goal of a headline is to capture attention and to get the person to read the rest of your ad. So this is just a relatively average type of ad that I've just whipped up in 10 seconds. Design and build your dream home, impress your family and friends. Custom homes, I feel like the emotion is ego there, and I talk about this type of stuff in the Google Ads writing Google Ads tutorial, link in the description below, how to get emotion into your ads. 3D design your home perfectly. Get your free 3D design where you can walk through before it's built. Again, just talking about the benefits there. Build a stunning home that has all the comforts you've always wanted. There are some added URL tracking templates and parameters, things of that nature. You probably will not have to bother with them all too much. So once we've created, we can just save and continue. It says that we have to build more ads, but we're not going to do that. Or we have to do it for the second ad group. Okay, so I've taken the speedy option of just duplicating the ad into the second ad group, and Google should be happy. Again, I recommend having 2 or 3 ads depending upon the parameters I just mentioned. This gives you a slight summary of the Google Ads campaign that we've just created. Now, because my billing is already set up, we will pause this. Otherwise, I will start to spend money that I don't really want to spend promoting someone that I have no idea who they are. Okay, so now we've successfully built our first Google Ads campaign. Now, unfortunately, the work is not done and not finished. So what you'd want to do now is start to research negative keywords, and I'm going to have a resources section below in the YouTube description. It shows you how to add negative keywords, which are hugely important and cannot be understated on the effect that they have on your campaigns, on how to further improve your settings, optimize locations, manage device types, and how to make bid adjustments depending upon how your website and how conversions are happening with on your website. So you might do tremendously well with mobile, terrible on tablets, and okay on desktop. Show you how to bid more on mobiles, bid less on tablets, and perhaps stay neutral on desktop. And overall, I've got a whole series that I've been building on how to enhance and optimize, overall just improve the performance of your Google Ads. It's the Google Ads optimization series. Again, you can go to my YouTube channel, go to playlists and view that, or you can click it down in the resource section below. So just before you go though, because this video is based upon Google Ads, I do want to just pitch not a sleazy or sales kind of offer, but just an offer that will probably help you, and that is that if you have an established Google Ads campaign, or you are just building one, or you've just finished building one and you would like me to review it with no obligation, no sales BS, and completely for free. Simply just go to my website at brenhammel.com, and this is my website here. Scroll down to the bottom, click how may I contact Bren, fill in this form below. We will have a chat about lining up a time to have a quick conversation about me getting some context about your business and your Google Ads account. And then what I'll do from there is analyze all the goings on and performance, etc. Within your Google Ads campaign. I'll create a video very similar like this that's completely private, showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and how to optimize and scale and overall get a better end result from your Google Ads performance. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and smash the like button. I really do appreciate that kind of stuff. And like normal, if you have any feedback, good, bad, or ugly, leave a comment in the comment section below. And like other people have done in the past, if you want a specific comment, if you want a specific topic covered, please leave a comment about that too. So with that being said, thank you for watching today. I hope it's been helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.